So I've seen a lot of people make the same mistake over and over, calling Emilie and, Ineffa a very same character. And I just want to make sure that we're clear that is not the case. The issue with Emilie is that, one, she just does damage. That's it. Like, she just does damage. Preferably on her team, she is just doing damage. And that is not enough to separate her from a character like Furina, who is also doing damage, and she's providing 100% support. So a character like Emilie, who can, oh wow, she's doing damage, is very easily replaced by a character like Furina. So this niche character being replaced by almost the most universal character we've ever had in the game, I mean, it's very simple math of like, oh, Emilie niche, only slightly better, not good. Simple math. Whereas Ineffa is a character who is going to be buffing her stats by quite a bit. So pulling up the Genshin Twitter, we can actually come over here and we can see the weapon here for Ineffa. So here it is. I'll go ahead, I'll open image in a new tab so you guys can easily see the passive. There we go. And you can see after an elemental skill or elemental burst is used, attack increased by 24%. Now, that's pretty good, but the real good stuff is right here. If the equipping character, makes a shield, which is Ineffa, she will gain, everybody gains 40% more lunar charge damage. Everybody. So her weapon is insane for lunar charge. I don't necessarily know how this exactly works, because if you know lunar charge, it's like, oh, I'm gonna take everyone's crit damage. I imagine that this isn't gonna be like 120% of like, it's not gonna be, oh, you have 40% damage bonus, you have 40% damage bonus, let's combine them 80% at the bare minimum. I imagine it's not that. I imagine it's 40% raw. I imagine that it's just gonna be 40%, and that's, that's fine. 40% is a lot though. I mean, we're buffing a reaction's damage by 40%, and she also has 14% just in her base kit. They might not have tweeted out her abilities yet, so I mean, we know her abilities because we've seen the early release showcases from content creators. I mean, it's very, they just haven't released that. All right, so they haven't released that, but we do know that she gives 14%. I do wish I could show you guys, but I don't, have an ability to do that. We're talking about a character who's giving 50% to Lunar electrocharge, and a character who is legitimately, entirely making Lunar electrocharge happen at all. Like, this character is the only character you can put Lunar electrocharge with. Now, we do not know if, the Flynn character, Lightkeeper, whatever the man is, we don't know if he could end up being, oh, hey, I'm a Lunar electrocharge too. You can trigger Lunar electrocharge with me in the party too. We don't know that. I imagine, like, if I had to be realistic about it, I hope that's how it works. I hope that's how it happens, because Lunar electrocharge should not be limited to Ineffa, but I could definitely see it happening. Either way, though, we're still buffing that damage by 50%, right? Which is far better than what Emilie has in her kit. And I'm just gonna say this right now, Emilie is on Revere, right? This is her artifact set. You don't use, Deepwood on Emilie most of the time if you can help it. And on a Kinich team, Mavuika is the one who uses Deepwood because she isn't able to do reactions. Her damage suffers severely. So you might as well give her Deepwood, have the 30% danger res for not only Emilie, but also Kinich. So it is truly an issue of, like, Emilie has no support capabilities in her kit at all. That is the main issue. She was made to work with Kinich, but she offers Kinich actually nothing except energy regen. That's it. Kinich doesn't get anything from this character. There is no abilities that this character is gaining from Emilie. She is a selfish sub-DPS character. This is a support character that we consider a sub-DPS character full way through. It's not like Mavuika, who's like, well, she's sub-DPS, but look at Mavuika. Look at what she's doing. Mavuika is giving you 40% damage bonus, right? So we are definitely seeing, that Ineffa is going to be a lot better than Emilie, and I don't think that it's going to be the same story. Now again, I've made the video where I'm already like, yeah, no, nobody can truly say what's going to happen with Ineffa, but I can certainly tell you that, guys, that calling Emilie and Ineffa the same character is not correct. It isn't. because Ineffa has truly unique abilities to her that it is required for her to give the damage, right? We don't know necessarily how Lunar Electrocharge is going to, be affected, and, when 6.0 could be stronger in 6.0, could be weaker. We'll have to see. But I imagine that, it's gonna at least be a good reaction, because Ineffa's buffing it by 50%, right? Like, it's good. The Electrocharge has already gotten a lot of buffs. Basically, right now, go use your electrocharge teams, and immediately you'll see that, like, you do some good damage. But, like, imagine if that damage was buffed by like 50%. That's a lot, man. It is a lot. And something we can also, talk about is that the content creator server does not necessarily have the best build, right? So the content creator server, for a very good reason, I would say, I fully understand why Hoyo is not wanting to go like, oh yeah, Nevi, he's got 300% crit damage, right? Like, we can definitely understand why, Genshin wants to be like, all right, let's go lower on the build side, because, that's where most players are. Like, I get so many comments of, like, people who are like, your build isn't good enough, it should be top 10% at least. But it's like, you do understand 90% of the Genshin player base isn't going to have a build like that, right? Yeah. Like, so me judging a character at a top 10% build is a little hard, right? And I think Genshin understands this perfectly, because they have the data to see, okay, how are people building their characters? Are they being idiots about it? Okay, this is what it's looking like. And they have had, like, a very, subpar build if you look at it through the lens of people who play this game every day, who are very grindy on it and get, like, good builds, right? Like, they grind out the good builds. It looks very subpar compared to our builds. However, I'm sure that if we looked at Genshin's data of, like, actually how people are building their characters, their trial characters and their other, content creator characters, it would line up very well, I would say. Like, it probably does. There's very little reason why Genshin would go ahead and give you a build for a character that, is subpar. They want to advertise these characters. So, just saying. But to make that point, a little more clear as why it relates to Ineffa is because, crit damage affects our Lunar Electrocharge damage, right? So, I don't know what their builds look like all the time, but I can imagine that Nevi here is not going to have 300% crit damage in the content creator server. So that is going to be a big buff already to Lunar Charge damage that we aren't really seeing, and it really is just, I imagine, going to work out to where, when you actually use a Lunar Electrocharge comparatively to these people who have spreadsheets and, content creator servers, right? I imagine that in real game, if you're one of these players who constantly, like, try and be like, oh no, you need top 10% at least for you to have a good build, your Lunar Electrocharge is probably gonna be pretty sick. So all that to say, like, yeah, we haven't even seen truly how strong Lunar Electrocharge is, and then Ineffa's gonna pop a 50% buff on it. Yeah, that's gonna be pretty good. So I'm just gonna say that simple. I think that's as simple as that. I do think that overall. So I do think Ineffa just is being very downplayed when people say that she's gonna be the same as Emilie. She isn't. She very much so isn't. I think they've learned that Emilie wasn't good enough, right? We had a character who was niche, and she came out and she was for burn, and then as soon as the DPS that she is tied to at this point in Kinich, as soon as he dropped, we saw that if Furina wasn't that bad of a replacement, and then anybody in their right mind would just summon for Furina, because this character is good for one team. This character is good for, like, it probably is over 100, like, maybe even over 200, right? Depending on what you count as, like, a team variation. But, this character is usable very much so on literally every team in the game almost. Like, unless it's, like, a pure Hyper Bloom team, even then, you could run Furina, Yelan, Kuki, Nahida, and then that's your off-field, or you use Nahida on-field, and that's your Hyper Bloom. Like, that, it works. So Furina is definitely, she's one of the most valuable pools. I mean, we all knew that when she came out, like, or not when she came out, it was a little tough because she had a little bit of an issue with the healing, but we've gotten a lot more healers over the years. I think that's where I'm going to end it off. I do think that people are definitely underrating Ineffa when they go ahead and say, she's exactly like Emilie. Emilie didn't provide support, The closest thing we have to support is literally Mavwika giving 40% damage bonus and 30% res shred on Kinich's team. If you're using the optimal Kinich team, Emilie is not providing support, and she is a pure damage dealer, which is the issue. It's literally the issue because, she just isn't doing anything for Kinich, right? To subsidize, Furina's massive 100% damage bonus, which really makes, if it wasn't for, Furina's massive lead of damage bonus on Emilie, like if Emilie had even 40% damage bonus in her kit, she would be skyrocketing better. Like genuinely, like you would notice, like it's probably like multiple, I would say like maybe like 400,000 damage extra, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised. 40% damage bonus, something like that. Maybe even 20% res shred in her base kit. I mean, we're talking about that, and that's good, but she doesn't have that. Yeah, but now we won't have to worry about that with Ineffa. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.